Unfolding across the southeast this morning. Millions are without power. Communities across the strike zone also dealing with a lack of water, fuel, and food is scarce. And we're going to start with breaking news this afternoon. Thanks for joining us. I'm Robbie Reynold. We're getting reports of a crash involving a school bus on Aravaca Road. Here's a live look right now at the scene. That man right there, the 46th president of the United States, Joe Biden, has bowed out of the 2024 presidential race. I didn't know pilots paid for their own meals. I assume the airlines just brought them out to them. So that's kind of an interesting whole facet to that.
I didn't know that either.
So, you know, the rural Metro Fire Chief drove by me like 5 minutes ago and I had a good conversation with him. He's going to talk to the fire marshal. Hopefully soon, he says, try to get an update on the investigation. They still don't know what caused these flames. Russia-U.S. prisoner swap going underway right now, but we don't know the names of the people who are being swapped right now. So we'll be sure to bring you any updates, and also the Today Show coming up after us. We'll have the latest on that situation as well. We've now learned NBC News has confirmed that Evan Jurkovich, the Wall Street Journal reporter, and then former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan are among those prisoners who are in that swap.
See, that can really make a mess. I've done it. I'm telling you from experience.
That's smart. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, well, I always leave my crayons in the car, so I just have to make sure they don't melt in there. All right, stay with us here. News 4 Tucson Today continues right after the break. Of course, the next part in this whole process is going to be the investigation into what actually happened during this car crash. And for now, we have Connor McGill, who is live at the scene of the crash. Connor, tell us about what happened here. Walk us through this entire process.
From KVOA, News 4 Tucson, this is Tucson Today.
Good Thursday morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Robbie Reynold. It is 6 o'clock right now. We will start with your traffic and weather together with Storm Tracker 4 meteorologist Dee Cortez. And Dee, we're talking about not only temperatures today, but also a lot going on the Doppler radar. But you're going to start us off with that sunrise. It's just peeking up over the mountains here.
We have to.
We're following a new wildfire here in southern Arizona. Right now, the flood fire is burning just north of Oracle Junction. And this morning, the wind has caused some major changes as well. Let's get straight on over to News 4 Tucson's Connor McGill. Connor, what have you learned this morning?
Well, Robbie, I can tell you this. Back to you, Robbie.
Connor, thank you so much for that report, and we'll just have to see if conditions do improve for firefighters this morning. Thank you again. And just to give you a little extra context here, Ready, Set, Go is a program adopted by Arizona sheriffs that educates residents on taking proactive measures before an emergency. Ready means to prepare now. Be aware of the hazard threatening your community. Set means to be alert, know of the dangers, and get your emergency kit ready. And Go means exactly that. Grab your family, pets, and evacuate. Danger in your area is imminent and life-threatening. And let's go ahead and give you a live look this morning at Orlando, Florida, where the destruction of Hurricane Milton continues. Take a look at this. This looks like we're along a shoreline there, and you see that water seeping out onto the streets. Two men there in the corner as well. Looking at the damage, looking at what's going on. We showed you an earlier live look as well where many tree debris is all across the roads in that area right now. So many people in Florida just having to deal with all of that destruction. And meanwhile, APS utility crews throughout Arizona are heading to Florida today to help restore power after Hurricane Milton. We're told that crews are leaving this morning in a caravan of bucket trucks. Their mission is to help rebuild the electric grid and restore power to the communities. These line workers will be in Florida for up to 1 month to help thousands of people. Pima County Sheriff's Department is offering a reward for any information leading to an arrest for a suspicious death. PCSD says Holly Ann Dasso was last seen alive September 22nd of last year in the area of the Laos Transit Center near Irvington and 6th Avenue. Her body was found the next day by the railroad track off of East March Station Road. Anyone with information is asked to call 88-CRIME, and you can remain anonymous. The reward is now up to $5,000. Relatives and friends of 48-year-old Michael Guillen are speaking with News 4 Tucson, sharing details about his death, hoping that it will help in their search for justice. Tucson police say that Guillen was killed in a hit-and-run incident in Midtown almost 2 weeks ago. News 4 Tucson, Jafet Serrato has the story. And new details this morning on the case of a young southern Arizona woman who died following an incident with her boyfriend back in August. News 4 Tucson has now obtained the autopsy report for 22-year-old Zariah Moreno. According to the autopsy, she died of blunt force trauma to her head. The toxicology report shows that she did have a blood alcohol concentration of 0.106 and tested positive for marijuana. Her boyfriend is 25-year-old Angel Olivas. He told Pima County deputies that on the morning of August 12th, he and Moreno had some kind of altercation, and at one point Moreno jumped onto his car while it was moving and fell off. He was originally facing charges of felony domestic violence, aggravated assault, and felony endangerment. The case against him has since been dismissed. Well, the vice presidential candidates for both major parties have wrapped up their visits to battleground state Arizona. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz campaigned in Tucson last night at Palo Verde High School. He spoke about Vice President Kamala Harris's background as a prosecutor. He focused on the issue of job security, mentioning that thousands of jobs were created under the Biden-Harris administration here in Arizona. Ohio Senator J.D. Vance, former President Donald Trump's VP nominee, was also rallying voters here in town at the Tucson Speedway. Vance encouraging supporters to vote early now that ballots have started to be mailed out across our battleground state. This is a shift in strategy from 4 years ago when the GOP urged voters to vote on Election Day. During his rally, Vance talked about the need to curb inflation and secure the southern border, adding Arizona is a critical state this fall on the path to the White House. His message on the first day of early voting is don't wait to cast your ballot. And coming up, we're checking out the top high school football player this week. That's coming up, but up next, officials are still waiting to assess the damage caused by Hurricane Milton. It is 6:10. Stay with us.
Robbie Reynold is live in Black Forest with more on their efforts. So, Robbie, these homeowners have been working nonstop.
Yeah, that's correct, Diane. It's been nothing but snow plowing, busting out old generators. In fact, you see behind me, workers still working to repair those power lines that were damaged in the storm. Residents telling me that every day they've had to find a new way to get through the struggle. When the storm hit, Henry Culver thought that plowing snow would be his biggest problem. But when he finished the driveway, he realized he had a bigger problem.
The power started going in and out, and then all of a sudden, sometime about noon, it just died.
Culver and his family figured they could last with bottled water and cold food, but when the power didn't come back on Thursday, he had to bust out his old generator.
I'll be surprised and happy if we get this by Monday, power restored. It looks like they have a lot of work on their hands.
Culver and other residents tell me staying warm has been the biggest challenge.
This morning when I got up, it was 11 degrees outside and 37 degrees inside.
Gary LaMontagne and his wife have been sleeping in their coats. Fortunately, they found a way to cook.
First we did cold foods, and then we figured out that we could turn the stove on, because all the electricity does is light the igniter to start the stove since we have a gas stove.
Homeowners on Herring are working as a team. Joseph Smith used his neighbor's snowplow to clear driveways.
There's a couple of cars stuck here, and there's people here on the corner. They couldn't get out at all. The road was completely blocked.
Now, most of those affected homeowners are along Herring Road. That's one of the worst areas that was impacted. Mountain View says they hope to restore power to most homes by 11 o'clock tonight, but residents tell me they've really stocked up on supplies just in case they need to be ready through the weekend, Diane. Reporting live in Black Forest, Robbie Reynold, KKTV 11 News.
Gosh, absolutely miserable for them. All right, Robbie, thank you.
Current and future FBI agents have to maintain strong fitness, right? And to make sure all their employees are keeping up, state offices put those agents through a fitness exam every single year.
Yeah, I don't think it was an easy one.
No.
The
no,
FBI offices in Phoenix and Tucson invited members of the media to try this test out for themselves to see what it takes to be an agent. And Tucson Today anchor Robbie Reynold answered the call.
The FBI fitness test has 4 phases: a 1-minute sit-up test, a 300-yard sprint, a push-up test, and a 1.5-mile run. Applicants only get 5 minutes of rest between each exercise. Those are the exact rules for me. Let's see if I have what it takes.
And begin. Because we investigate and we handle all sorts of matters dealing with national security, criminal nature, stuff like that. So it does require us to be, physical, where we may actually have to chase someone down. We actually may have to put hands on somebody.
I think the hardest hardest part is putting everything together. I think at first you're like, oh, 5 minutes is a really long time, and then you do a sprint and you're like, wow, 5 minutes, I didn't recover at all.
Great job, Robbie. You're going to be just doing that last lap. 10:25. Great job. You have an overall 11 points. And then for anybody right now going through the academy starting next week, they would have to get 9 points in order to kind of advance into the process. And so by your 11 points, you'd be a shoo-in. You know, so yeah.
All FBI agents have to be able to pass this test once a year, no matter their experience level. Agents tell me physical fitness is critical to their success. Robbie Reynold, News 4 Tucson.
And if you are interested in joining the FBI, this is the same test you will need to pass. Here are Robbie's scores to give you an idea of how those points are totaled.
And Robbie is a competitive triathlete, and he did well in the running events, which gave him that passing score. However, apparently Robbie needs to hit the gym and work on that upper body strength. He got 0 points for push-ups, only 21. Come on, Robbie.
Looked like those push-ups weren't bad either.
Yeah, well, he's got a fallback, you know?
Looks,
He'd
yeah,
be an FBI agent.
That's true.
Coming up.